FPL Gameweek 26 transfer tips and targets. In today's video, we're going to take a look at most transfers coming in and out, give you a bit of tips on that, as well as which are the transfers you should be bringing in terms of player picks and who is the best manager to pick going into Gameweek 26. This is Fantasy Football G, guys. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, guys. Let's get into it. Today we're going to do things a lot more differently. I've done this once before, didn't work, but let's see if it can work now. So these are the most transferred players going in and out of the week so far on Wednesday, if you're watching this after that. But I think let's start off with the top transfers going out, and it makes total sense with Ahmad Gakpo, Jackson, and Ndai. Those guys, you can see, are all flagged and injured. I think the most interesting talking point there is Cole Palmer, because he's frustrated a lot of players, a lot of managers throughout the weeks, blanking, as you can see there. 1, 2, 3 times in 4. Excuse me. But I think if you look at him overall, he's gonna have those weeks, guys. And I think when he really does come through, he comes through double digits, So I think it makes sense that he blanked against Man City. Jackson's not there anymore. So it's clear that Jackson does have an impact on the way they play. If you guys strongly feel like Cole Palmer, regardless of what Enzo Maresco does, is not going to be able to deliver because Jackson's not there, okay, cool, fine. By all means do it. But for me, I think it's the mere fact that he's got 2 good fixtures coming up in the next week, and that's Southampton and then Leicester. And I think, regardless of Jackson being there or not, I think there are other players around him who can somewhat step in, and really this is their chance. And I think if that manages to happen, I'm not saying it will, I'm not saying it can, then Cole Palmer can honestly just come alight the same way that he has done with those 10 pointers and 18 pointers as well. And I don't think we would be surprised. I'm not quite sure where everybody's really going, and this really makes me go on to the top transfers in this game week. So there's Marmoush in the top there, of course, after his hat trick, and then we've got Justin Kluivert, of course, on penalties with Bournemouth, and he's got a lot. He's scored a lot recently. And then you've got Matoma, of course, the magic touch man, and then Nwaneri and Cunha. Nobody there really is within the same price range of Cole Palmer. So I'm not sure where everybody's freeing up the cash for. But starting on Marmoush, I think it's a bit too early for me to, and I say for me because it's not a move that I would necessarily make. I think, Newcastle, of course, didn't necessarily perform all that well. Not taking anything away from Manchester City, but at the same time, we don't really. For myself, I watched the game a couple of the first few minutes when Marmoush scored his first 2 goals. I could not understand what the hell was happening, and I'm the one who likes to sort of I'm tactically more aware and sort of dissect and be able to go like, okay, cool. Attacking wise, this is what's really happening, whether or not they're attacking him or they're attacking him in terms of trying to get him the ball, or is he really just making things happen? And you can definitely see a huge difference with Nico Gonzalez in the team, of course, in terms of them having a lot more control and being able to control the game state. That's a definite, and I think it is allowing a lot more freedom for the attackers like Marmoush as well as Haaland to do what they need to do now, including everybody else. So it's, I think other players might start coming up, like Foden might start popping up into the picture, and you might want to actually use those Cole Palmer funds for him, maybe even KDB, although I think he's more on the side of being used in the Champions League, which might change if they, of course, go out to Real Madrid. But that's why I just feel like it's a bit too early with Nico Gonzalez effect coming into Manchester City. I think we could see some other players starting to be able to have that freedom now, being able to play and not worry too much about their defensive duties running back. Justin Kluivert, of course, a beautiful transfer to bring in. He's on penalties. They got a beautiful run of fixtures coming up. That makes absolute total sense as to why he's being brought in a lot. So he's definitely a transfer I would say bring in. Mitoma, Look, he's got a great game week, which is Southampton. I think if it wasn't for Southampton, I don't think a lot of you guys would be bringing him in. Although I must say he is somebody who has been flying under the radar, and I say that in the sense of, he scored 10, he scored 12, and then of course he blanked in the 2 games, which somewhat you would expect him to actually have some sort of an effect in. When I talk about, okay, maybe Everton, maybe not, that was a freak, quite frankly, but he played 45 minutes and then comes back against Chelsea again and scores 10. So I say flying under the radar because we weren't really paying attention to him in those moments in time. But he's on and off, hot and cold as well. And I think once you've brought him in and then you look at his fixtures that are coming up, I think you're going to want to quickly offload him again because he's playing Bournemouth, Fulham, which are definitely not no pushovers. Man City seems like they're starting to get into form. Aston Villa by that time, after the international break, could be in another form. Crystal Palace is still in good form, although they'll have a lot of fixtures still. His next best fixture really is game week 32. So that's my thought when it comes to the Matoma. I think it's really sounds and it looks more like a knee jerk. Cunha for me makes a lot more sense because Cunha's got his fixtures start to turn, I think, more so in game week 27. As I said, Fulham is no pushover, but at least it's at home. So that fixture difficulty rating, I totally agree with. Same with Everton. In fact, that fixture difficulty rating should be at 3 because Everton is a lot more of a team now and a unit as well. But those are 2 good fixtures. And of course, in that game week 29, when there's a blank, I'm not saying he is the best, but he is a captaincy shot playing against Southampton. So straight after that, he's got West Ham, he's got Ipswich. His fixtures really start to turn at that point. So I think that Cunha is really a great transfer to bring in. His form is also starting to look up. And me, I'm all about form and not just about fixtures. And form, honestly, is starting to beating fixtures this season so far. So, yeah, that is my transfer tips when it comes to the most transfers coming in and out. Let's move on to who I think within the defense and the midfield, as well as in the strike force, who you should be looking at for game week 26. Before we do that, guys, if you really are loving the content, please subscribe. I just want to ask you to do one thing, and that is subscribe, because it goes a long way to supporting the channel. Really, really, really does. And I want to thank everybody else who has subscribed. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. Let's move on and let's go to transfers. Cool. So I think what I want to do is what I always do, which is set this actually to form, right? And I think we're going to speed past the keepers because not a lot of people make goalkeeper transfers. But I think David Raya is number 1, and I say this in the sense that he's got fixtures even in the blank for game week 23 and is projected, game week 29 is projected to also play in game week 34. So I think if you're looking to have a keeper, and right now most of you, or some of you are sitting on a Pickford and not just some of you are sitting on a Pickford, some of you are sitting on a Henderson and a Fabianski. If you're looking to make that substitution and you're sitting on a Henderson, then I would also go to a Raya and somewhat sit and just leave. Pickford is also someone you could also play. He's going to be definitely playing in the game week 29 and also going to be playing in game week 34, which is predicted to be a big blank. So if you're looking for a sit and sit, then I'd go for Pickford also, because I think of course Everton's defense is back to being the old Moyes and the boys. So I think that's definitely a good pick there. Otherwise, I wouldn't really necessarily looking elsewhere right now. I think if you're looking for a cheap pick, of course, you can go for the Chelsea goalkeeper, who's not here. He's a bit further down. Jorgensen. Yeah, so Enzo Maresca has put him to be number 1. As you can see, he's started the past 2 games. He hasn't performed well at all, and I feel like that's just going to change immediately. And I wouldn't go to him just because of those past two performances. And then, like, yeah, I know you're probably saying, but Ken, even Sanchez hasn't performed. I just think he's going to get his chance in staying in the next two good games, which is Southampton and Leicester. So that's definitely a keeper that you could have. And I say, Chelsea, because they're going to be playing in game week 29, and they're also going to be playing definitely in game week 34 as well. So he's another goalkeeper you can set and forget. And then Fabianski is not nearly on the table anymore. Areola is also on the same price point at 4.2, so you can also bring him back into the picture. Game week 27 is the only game week that's looking good. Apart from that, his fixtures only look to get better round about game week 30, but that's again just one game week being Wolves. So I myself wouldn't go there. But if you're looking for a cheap goalkeeper, that's just me highlighting that. Let's go to the defense, moving on so that you guys can actually see who are the best defenders. So I think, as I mentioned before, Moyes and the boys are looking well gathered up. So you can see in terms of form, their defense is in form up there with Tarkowski at the top there. And I think if you are looking for a cheaper defender, one who can also be an attacking threat, he's there as well. You can see the Tottenham defense are also starting to come up. I, though, would not move on to them because I think, they're not there at full strength, though, even though Vicario is back as well. They are playing a Ipswich, which is really good, but then their fixtures still are not looking good. Neither is the team, I would say. But we can't ignore that they have been getting clean sheets. So as you can see, 6 points there, clean sheet there, Brentford, clean sheet, Man United. They're in form, but I don't know. I just wouldn't hop onto that right now. I think Collins having a good game week, last game week, he's somebody that we could look at in terms of him having a run there with Leicester. If you're looking for a Leicester defender, he's also good for bonus points. So good game week, good run of fixtures as well. And yeah, he's had his hauls here and there with 6 pointers, 7 pointers as well. So yeah, I think he's a good pick there. Otherwise, Vardiol with Manchester City starting to look, a lot more well put together. You can see there it's been 6 points, a blank, 8 points, and a 6 point there. I'm not surprised by that, and I won't be surprised by by Man City starting to get together that run of wins and fixtures as well. So I think Vardiol is somebody that we could start to look at if you have the money. I think the game with Liverpool is going to be a tough one. I think it's going to be a draw. So he's not somebody I'll bring in right now immediately for this game week. I think for this game week, if you are looking for a defender short in minutes as well, you can look at either an Arsenal defender if you don't have one. Some people actually don't have one. Apart from that, yeah, in terms of Munoz, whether or not you should sell him, I think you can keep him right up until the Ipswich fixture and then you can let him go. Right now, I think you can ride with him. I think playing against Fulham, you can definitely try and take a chance. Remember, he gets into very high attacking positions. Aston Villa themselves are not necessarily in the greatest of form, although we are hoping that they can beat Liverpool tonight. But that's my verdict on Munoz there as well. So nothing much in the defense. Let's quickly move on to the midfield and see which are the best midfielders in form, which we can definitely go for. Of course, as you can see there, Dango is on top there. And I think, that somewhat says the position between the three of them. When I say three of them, that is Clifford and Semenyo and Dango. Dango being at the top, I would actually put him in as one of your first players to bring in. He's only about 3% owned still, so he's a big differential if you're looking for a cheap option, and still really great fixtures to actually have. And I'd say that's all the way until roundabout game week 31, so this is still a great entry point for them, despite the fact that we missed Southampton. I would go for Dango. If you are looking for more expensive, of course, I would go for Clifford, because, of course, we are worried about what's going to happen to Dango once Evan Nilsson comes back. On the other hand, Kevin Schade is somebody you can consider if you're also looking for a cheaper option into the Brentford versus Leicester game. He tends to have those actual games where he just scores. He scores and he gets bonus points as well, just like the Crystal Palace and West Ham game as well. So doesn't play a lot of minutes, which is the one thing about him as well. He's just a bit of a risk for minutes. But as you can see, he does love the weaker team, Southampton. Crystal Palace there was a big surprise. I think West Ham, of course, also just trying to get up to speed in terms of their form as well. So there's somebody you can definitely bring in. Minte is really the same. The same tips that I have and advice on him that I had on Mitoma. Good price point, but just not really somebody I'd really go for, quite honestly. I think I just want to also answer a bit of questions in terms of Rodgers. I think Rodgers is absolutely okay to also let go of, freeing up some space as well, along with Sa as well. I think they've been both very disappointing when it comes to their fixtures. So you can definitely take those players out for any of those players, Adango, Clivert, Semenyo. I think one more player which is not here, of course, which has been very disappointing, is an Mbeumo. You can see he's not even high up because he's not really in form. But I think having a good fixture against Leicester and also having another one coming up at home against Everton, I think this is a time where maybe his form can start to change. So I think this is a great entry point now for Leicester, Brentford players, and I think Mbeumo can definitely be a captaincy shout for this next game week 26. So if you're thinking about him, and that's maybe where you guys are really freeing up that money from Cole Palmer transfer out, I would say definitely bring Mbeumo in, which is a surprise why he wasn't the most transferred in, but I think he's highly owned, which is why we didn't see that. So you can see 35%. That is a good high ownership as well. Another cheap guy, which I would definitely say the one who really, gave you guys awareness on, is Ethan Nwaneri. He's starting there. He's also on set pieces when it comes to corners. Don't be surprised. I've seen him even take a free kick for Arsenal as well. I'm not sure if that was in the Champions League or if that was in the league, not recently now, probably a month, 2 months ago. Really amazing, guys. If you haven't seen him yet, you have to watch him. I'm telling you now, Saka is watching him and saying, I think I'm in trouble. I'm really, really in trouble. So I would say, guys, just if you're looking for a 4.5 enabler in the midfield, I think he'll definitely be here until game week 30, which is when everybody returns after the international break. And that is forecasted for when Saka and even Martinelli will come back. But I think it's Saka who's the main denominator there when it comes to taking away minutes from Ethan. But even if that is the case, I mean, you look at it, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 game weeks which are still really great. In West Ham, Nottingham Forest, Man United, Chelsea. I feel like the only tough one there from my perspective, and no disrespect to the other teams, I'm just talking about form, is Nottingham Forest, who themselves haven't necessarily been in consistent form. One thing to point out though, which is I think what also holds me back from going for Ethan Nwaneri, is the fact that, of course, Arsenal is not playing with their first front three. Literally, their first front three is out. And so there's a huge dip in quality there when it goes to the attack, and you can see that in the Leicester game. And so it really works out when Trossard's playing in his actual position on the left and Ethan Nwaneri on the right, and of course somebody else has that responsibility in the center. And that was Mikel Merino coming in, and I think that's a good time to actually speak about Mikel Merino. Cat, should we be going for Mikel Merino 6.0? He scored 2 goals coming in. Will he even play striker? Look, I think Arteta's going to do what Pep usually does, which is mind games and not consistent in terms of who starts. Mikel Merino said it himself. He doesn't think that he'll be playing there a lot. And even if he does, I think he'll be playing there in the very same fashion he did, which is coming on to make an impact. I think if Arteta can't break through with what he's got, I think he will then bring Mikel Merino in there to play that number 9 role. So the minutes, I think, will be very much the same as what you're seeing there. Probably a 30 minutes, probably a 60 minutes at most, even as well if he does start. Because I think if he does start and he's still not making the impact that he needs to, I think that Mikel Arteta is going to change. And so I don't think he's a 90-minute man. And that's the thing that brings doubts into me. And I think it was Leicester at the same time, guys. I think bring Mikel Merino in against a Nottingham Forest to do that, I don't think it ends up quite the same. Even West Ham, they've got some really good defenders as well. I think he can pull it off against Man United, but yeah, I just don't feel like it could happen with teams who really have some really great defenders there as well. So I wouldn't be going into that Mikel Merino space. But yeah, that's my advice when it comes to a set and forget midfield. Set and forget midfield with Ethan Nwaneri. I would definitely go there. I don't want to look too further down because, of course, these guys are not necessarily in form, and I want to talk about players who are in form, which you could definitely be bringing in as well. So let's go to the strikers to round things up. And again, guys, before we get into Strike Force, if you really are loving the content and you think, man, this guy really knows his stuff, please hit that subscribe button. It really goes a long way. So yeah, let's go into the strikers and then we'll round things up, of course, with the actual managers as well. So Beto, I think, is somebody I really want to start with. I think we're not necessarily noticing that he is somebody not just in form, he is a man on fire. And I was saying this the whole time that, guys, for me, I think form this season has beaten fixtures, regardless of what fixtures it is. He's scoring against Liverpool, of course, a great fixture against Leicester. He's even played against Crystal Palace and still scoring. So I think he can definitely score against the Man United. I think Brentford, he can definitely score. They tend to concede a lot, even though they got a surprise clean sheet in the previous game week, as well as Wolves. So there isn't any necessarily great defense that he's going to be playing up against until game week 30, where his fixtures turn. I think that's, if he's continuing in this form, and right now, I think we're all finding ourselves in that situation of like, it's Beto. We don't really expect him to really continue this type of form, but we have to remember and not look at what it was in the past, because there was no Moyes in the past. Now Moyes is here. He's changed up a lot of things. They're not just playing defensively. They are really putting in goals. So I think that, and you can see it there, them not necessarily scoring for a while. All of a sudden, he comes in. Of course, they won there without him, but he comes in and I'm talking about Moyes coming in, and Moyes starts scoring. He starts scoring. And now Beto's that main number 9 guy, and he's a proper day in, day out striker who will put those chances away, unlike Calvert-Lewin. No disrespect. Truth is the truth. So I think Beto's definitely somebody you guys can consider, another enabler there, which is one I'm definitely considering. We have to talk about Haaland. I think it's the same thing with Haaland, like he still hasn't proven to, be worth it, Mateta is also another one in form. Front three right now, the best honestly is Wood, Mateta and Beto. I don't think there's much to talk about when it comes to Mateta. It's just, if you've got him, keep him until, game week 29, where you can take him out. He does have another good game week straight after game week 29. So if you can put him on the bench, then fine, do so. If you're going to be free hitting, cool. There's no need to even talk about it. But I don't think buy him, because it's another way to transfer where you bring him in and you take him out. Isak, still blanking. I think the question comes as to when are we going to also start feeling the same way about Isak that we do with Palmer. And I think if Isak blanks again, in which I predict, in all honesty, in these next 2 game weeks, which are actually very tough, which is a Nottingham Forest and a Liverpool, I think that people are going to really start getting frustrated, especially if Ollie Watkins is performing and Mateta is performing and Wood is performing as well, and you don't have those players. Say you're sitting on a João Pedro, you're sitting on a Raul. So yeah, I would say just monitor that. And I think it's okay as well, because those fixtures aren't necessarily the best, and I think that's why a lot of people hopped off of him the same way they have with Cole Palmer, just like me, really. I brought in Ollie Watkins. So yeah, I think we've mentioned Cunha as well. Not going to be going anywhere down below. The lab, I don't think there's anything to say really. Not playing in the best team. He scored in the past 2 game weeks, so he's showing a bit of form there. But to Southampton and a surprising one against Aston Villa. So I don't think show any interest there. I think if you go looking for a striker, great enabler, Beto's the one. Mamouche, I think just stay off and wait to see what other assets from City start to avail themselves in terms of good performance because of the impact of the new transfers. And then Cunha, of course, is another great transfer considering he's got good turn of fixtures coming up as well. So let's go into the managers now. And the big question, who do we go for? So right now we've got the Slot Army and we've got the Emre Army. The Slot Army is considering, I've been on Slot for 2 game weeks, and the first one wasn't all that great. The second one is turning out to be okay for now, and this is me recording before the Liverpool and Aston Villa, of course. I think what's going to happen with the Slot Army is if Emre works out again tonight, I think the Slot Army is going to be in a position of like, I want table bonus now. I'm sick and tired of this. I've been hit twice with table bonus. I want to get that table bonus. And with the guys on Emre, I think having drawn, and if they get defeated as well, I think they might find themselves the guys who are being risky as well, like me. If Emre and it really goes down to tonight's results, I might find myself in that point where I'm like, okay, cool, didn't work out with Emre, but did well with Moyes. I want to get more points. The table bonus managers. We have, let's go to the fixtures over here. Table bonus managers. Cool. We have a Brentford against Leicester. Benestroy? No. In my opinion, absolutely not. West Ham? No. Absolutely not. Wolves? A maybe. I think it can happen. I really do think it's something that can happen. I think Wolves did beat them in the beginning of the season. Let's see if I can actually get that. Okay, cool. I actually can't see from there. All right, we'll just leave that. I don't think I can also see it from here, can I? Nah, it won't show there. But I think Wolves actually beat them convincingly this season in the beginning. I think it was even a 4-1. Oh yeah, let's check here. I think it was even a 4-1, a 4-2. Oh, no, they lost, actually. Wolves lost. Yeah, Wolves lost 4-2. But again, that was a different Wolves, man. That was a different Wolves. I think there's a huge possibility over there that can happen if you feeling like it can happen. I think the one that's interesting for me is the Glasner against Fulham. Again, Fulham are no pushovers, but at the same time, Crystal Palace themselves have really, really turned up in form. I can trust Mateta, I can trust Munoz, even the defense as well have been performing. So the thing is that they're playing away. And it just makes it tough. And this is the thing about table bonus, guys. There's no sure in. There is absolutely no sure in. And I think a lot of us are always like, oh, we're going to pick somebody table bonus who we know sure in. There is no sure in. Not even now, not even at the end of the season when it's game week 36 to game week 38. There will be no short-in. I can guarantee you that. The chance I would take for me, despite Spurs' players coming back, I think McKenna's actually looking good. And I say this because that performance against Aston Villa was unbelievable. The keeper was on fire. Absolute fire. I think, it made sense that, unbelievable. So I think that he can pull out a performance like that at home, definitely. I think that I'm not even sounding convincing myself. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad. Guys, I don't know on this one. I really don't know on this one. There's just 3 teams you're gonna have to pick. In all honesty, I think the best is Atlanta or McKenna. I think Bournemouth isn't too much in form there. I was very impressed by Ipswich, and I'm hoping the Spurs that we all know turns up. And so I would actually go for McKenna, just because you have that 50-50 chance of the Spurs. You can never really trust Spurs to really show up. And Ipswich, we saw what they did to Spurs in the beginning of the season. I think that was with their players being there as well. I cannot remember, of course. But after that performance of Aston Villa, I was like, damn, all right, cool. So that's what I think when it comes to the assistant managers. I'm on Emre. It's going to depend on what happens tonight. And I think we're going to have to wait and see in the game tonight. Until then, guys, that's going to be me. So remember what to do. Please hit that like button if you are liking the content, but most importantly for me, just subscribe to support the channel. I really, really, really appreciate it. And guys, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for the support. Peace.